Hello everyone. In our today's session, we will learn regarding test and analysis tools in ABAP. Now here we will be covering the topics related to the testing, that are the transaction codes which we use for testing the data which has been provided into SAP, and different analysis tools which are used to analyze the data between the systems. So here, through the testing and analysis tools, we would be exploring the different transaction codes which are used under day-to-day process for SAP ABAP. So here, let us see what are the different tools which we use for testing. Now, here ABAP offers a set of specialized test and analysis tools that are useful at different phases of the software lifecycle. So here we would be covering the different systems like the development system, the testing and the production system. So under that particular system, we would be using different tools for testing and analysis purpose at different phases. Let us see the feature regarding this test and analysis tools. Here, the testing and analysis tools can be divided into different categories, like we would be doing testing and quality assurance. So here we would have the transaction codes like for testing and quality assurance. Now here, static source text checks as well as module test and integration test can be executed with the use of some of the tools, like we use enhanced program check tool. Now here, for checking that, we use the transaction code SLIN. Then we have a code inspector, that is the code inspector tool. Then we have an ABAP unit tool. Then we use extended computer aided test tool, which is a transaction code SECAT. Then we have coverage analyzer tool, which is a transaction code SCOV. So these are the testing and quality assurance tools. Now next we would be having the troubleshooting and problem management. Now under this we would be covering some of the transactions which have been used for testing and analyzing the details after the test. Here, problems that occur during the runtime can be analyzed using the tools like we have system log tool, which provides the details that of the problems are occurred during the runtime. So here we use a transaction code which is SM21. Then we have ABAP dump analysis tool which is ST22. Then we have ABAP runtime analysis which is SAT, or we use SE30 transaction code. Then for SQL trace and further performance trace, we use transaction code ST05. Then for WinPro trace, we use ST20 transaction code. Then we have an ABAP debugger, then memory inspector, and activable checkpoints tool where we use the transaction code SAAB. So these are different tools and the transactions related to troubleshooting and problem management. So here under this testing and analysis, we would be covering all of this in detail. Now first we will see about the testing and quality assurance tool. Now under that, our first tool would be extended program check. Now here under this particular tool, we use the transaction code which is SLIN. Let us see the use of this particular function. We use this function to perform static checks which are too time consuming for the normal syntax check. The extended program check returns both errors and warnings, and it is possible to run either individual specialized test or one whole standard check. So with the help of this tool, we can check both the errors and warnings which are possible during the runtime. And also it helps us to perform static checks which are different from that particular normal syntax check. Now let us see the process for this. Now the first step would be logging into the particular transaction code. So here we use the transaction code SLIN for extended program check, or we can also choose the SAP menu path, which is we'll have to choose program, then go to check where we'll find extended program check. Here, the system displays a list of possible check options. So by default, all of them would be selected. So here, for detailed information, we need to select any particular option. That is, we need to select any of that particular checkbox. We'll have to position the cursor on it and press the F1 help key, which will give the detailed information about that check option. So here, once we log into that particular screen, we'll have to select the options which we need. For each option which we have selected, it will display the overview, that is detailed of the errors, warnings and messages. Now here, after that, next would be choosing an entry to display that corresponding detail screen. Now once we select that, from that particular screen we can jump to that appropriate point either in the program or under that enhancement, and we can correct and rectify the error. So these are the 3 steps which we use in order to perform an extended syntax check. Now, this particular screenshot displayed here shows the initial screen for the extended program. Now, here we use the transaction code which is SLIN. So here under the command field we'll write SLIN, and once we maintain that, it will open this initial screen for the ABAP program extended syntax check. Now, after this, here we would see that there are different checks performed for that particular program, like perform form interface, call function interface, external program interface, screen consistency, check old tables, authorizations, GUI status and title bar, set or get parameter IDs, message, character strings, output currency or quantity fields, field attributes, syntax check warnings, internationalization, package check, superfluous statements, problematic statements, structure enhancements, obsolete statements, and cross-program performance intensive test. So these are the different checkboxes which have been available, from which we can select the checkbox which we want and we can get the details for that particular program. Now, after this, the next step would be selection of the checks, maintaining the program name, and then clicking on this execute button. Now, once we click on that execute button, it will open this overview screen where we would be seeing all the problematic areas. That is, the errors, warnings, and messages which would be displayed will give the details of the overview for that particular program, which is zlist grid. So here we have errors and the warnings. Now here the error is been provided under the check message and character strings. Also under the structure enhancement we have one error and one warning. So by double clicking on any of this point, we can go to the detailed view of that particular thing. Now once we double click on this character string, that is the number of errors. So if we double click here, it will take us to the detailed overview screen for that particular messages for the character strings. So here once we click on the area, we can see exactly where the problem is. So here it has detailed the program name along with the row number where that particular error has occurred. So this is how we can view the detailed log by double clicking on that particular line. Also at the runtime, whatever details are being executed under error can also be analyzed through this transaction code, which is for extended program check. Now let us see through an SAP system how do we make use of this transaction code in order to perform testing and quality assurance.